Good morning. It's 10 o'clock. It's Monday, August 17th, 2026, and we'll call the regularly scheduled meeting of the MPO Technical Advisory Committee to order. We'll begin today by calling the roll. Please, Tracy.
Daniel Narin. Dan Triak.
Here.
Deidre Hughes.
Here.
Gabe Schell.
Here.
Loretta Marshak. Jarek Wignes.
Here.
John Sackie.
Here.
Logan Bisey.
Here.
Mitch Flanagan. Natalie Pierce. Will Hutchings. And Chair Ripple.
Here. Thank you. We do have a quorum, and we'll call the meeting to order. We'll begin with public comment. This is restricted to items on the current agenda or the prior TAC agenda, excluding any public hearing items. Is there any member of the public who wishes to provide comment, either in person or online? Calling again for public comment, and calling a third time for public comment. Hearing and seeing none, public comment period is closed. We'll move on to the consent agenda. We have 3 items on the consent agenda this morning. We have the minutes from the June 15th, 2026 TAC meeting. Also, a staff memo regarding the curb management study, providing an update, and also a notice of 2026-2029 Transportation Improvement Program tip modifications. What are the wishes of the board?
Deidre, I'll move to approve.
I have a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Dan, I'll second that.
Dan seconds. Any discussion? If not, roll call, please.
Dan Triak.
Yes.
Deidre Hughes.
Yes.
Gabe Schell.
Yes.
Loretta Marshak.
Yes.
Jarek Wignes.
Yes.
John Sackie.
Yes.
Logan Bisey. And Chair Ripple.
Yes. Consent agenda has been approved. Moving on to the regular agenda, item number 6 is the ATAC addendum amendment for Mandan signalized intersection data collection. And I'll begin with that by directing your attention to Exhibit RC on page 21 of the packet. And Tracy will be sharing screen for me as I present this particular item. Again, this is an amendment to the existing Mandan signalized intersection data collection addendum that we have with Advanced Traffic Analysis Center. The current addendum to our master agreement with ATAC includes traffic data collection and inclusion on the ATAC traffic analysis tool for up to 5 signalized intersections. With the nearing completion of the Memorial Highway reconstruction project and to provide the most robust and accurate collection of data possible for the 2027 update to the travel demand model, we are proposing to add 3 additional Mandan intersections to this particular project. We would be on page 21 of the packet. There we go. And there on the screen you do see the amendment to the addendum. The total project cost for the additional 3 locations is $9,828. The MPO would be paying 80% of that at $7,862, and then the City of Mandan would pick up the 20% local match at $1,965. Now, if approved, the project is set to begin immediately with the setup and calibration of these 3 additional locations. This project was included as part of the overall traffic data collection and analysis project in the administrative modification that we talked about last month. The administrative modification to the 26-27 UPWP took the traffic data collection and analysis project and split it into 3 separate efforts, and these 3 additional locations were one of those efforts. Staff does recommend, or we would be seeking a recommendation of approval for the amendment to the addendum for the 3 additional Mandan locations, and I would be happy to stand for any questions. Jarek is here today. Is there anything that you would like to add, Jarek?
No, not very much. I just think that this is a great amendment for us. It gives us a lot more a fuller picture of what's going on around town, and we don't have to make any sacrifices to pick locations over another. So I think it's a good amendment.
All right, thank you. Are there any other questions or concerns regarding this amendment? Gabe?
Is it listed somewhere which intersections it covers?
It does not list the intersections on here. However, City of Mandan and I have had discussions, and you know what? I did not bring that list. Jarek, do you recall?
This would add all of the intersections, all of the signalized intersections in Mandan, except for Sunset and Old Red Trail, since that one will be replaced in a upcoming project. So this would just cover everything else.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Yep.
Any other questions? Wishes of the board?
I would move to approve or recommend approval.
Jarek moves to recommend approval. Is there a second?
This is Gabe. I would second.
Thank you, Gabe. Any discussion? If not, roll call, please.
Dan Shriak,
Yes.
Deidre Hughes,
Yes.
Gabe Shell,
Yes.
Loretta Marshak,
Yes.
Jarek Wigness,
Yes.
John Sackey,
Yes.
Logan Bisey, and Chair Ripple.
Yes, motion is approved. Moving on to item number 7 on the agenda is the 2027-2028 Unified Planning Work Program final adoption. I will be presenting that 2728 UPWP that is shown in the packet as Exhibit RD on page 23 of the packet. And Tracy will be sharing screen. We'll bring that up so everybody can see that here and at home. The draft 2728 UPWP was introduced to and approved as a draft by TAC and Policy Board in June, and since then, North Dakota DOT has provided comments in addition to those that were received by TAC. All comments have been addressed, resulting in several changes to the draft document. Changes included textual modifications to provide clarity, along with either the addition of new tables within program areas or providing additional information in existing tables within the document. None of the revisions were of a significant enough nature to alter the intent that is conveyed by the draft document, nor were funding totals or cost share breakdowns modified. I think that you'll probably find the revisions very helpful, making the information in the document clearer and more easily understandable, and I'll just go through some of those more significant changes moving through the document. So beginning on page 4 of the document, or page 31 of your PDF if you're following along remotely, we show the meeting tables. The dates of the TAC meetings that don't adhere to the standard third Monday of the month have been bolded, just to kind of call those out, and you'll see that there's 3 of them there. On page 7 of the UPWP, which is on page 34 of the PDF, the revenue funding source table has been revised to have totals added at the bottom of the table for both years. On page 9 of the document, under UPWP Amendment Guidance, We added 9 and 10 as CFR citations to the circumstances requiring prior approval from the federal agency or pass-through entity. On page 10, an additional paragraph was added to provide an overview of the amendment and approvals process, and that's right up at the beginning of the page, that first paragraph. On page 12 of the document, we revised the MTP goals table very minorly. We just added table headings for some clarity there. And that's on page 12 of the document. Moving on to page 12, this is page 39 in your PDF. Okay. Also, on the MTP goals table, below that is the MTP timeline. We specified that the MTP adoption date needs to be by or before December 17th, 2029. We got very specific on that. And then moving on to page 14, task 100, sorry, Tracy, it would be page 41 on your PDF. Task 100, there is a purpose paragraph right up at the top. There we go. To that purpose paragraph, we added an explanation that cost estimates within the task include only the salaries, wages, and benefits paid to staff for their time spent administering the activities identified within, to make it clear that this is just salaries and benefits rather than actual costs of these activities. So there are actually 3 items on this same page. If we scroll down under proposed work, in that section we added the language, the following tables provide cost estimates for total staff time allocated to activities such as those related to MPO core products and documents, transportation studies, data collection, vendor procurement, transit, and general administration activities requiring staff engagement and time. And then the third item that we added on page 14 would be the table for both 2027 and 2028 to show the total federal and local funding amounts for Task 100. All of this was added without changing any intent of the draft document. It was just to provide clarification. Moving on to our Task 200 on page 20 through 23 of the document, which, Tracy, you'll find on page 47. Our Task 200 tables were revised to indicate an identifying number for each of the projects. The project identification number will help, it will assist North Dakota DOT in tracking some of our project expenses, and it will also assist us with our quarterly reporting to North Dakota DOT. And again, that is on page 47 of the PDF, continuing through 48 and 49. Our Task 300 table on page 26 of the document, or page 53 of the PDF, was added to show the total federal and local funding amounts for each specific activity or expenditure category within that 300 program area. And then skipping on to page 30 or 57 on the PDF, we added a bit of language to the very last paragraph on that page to address website content accessibility guidelines. We have to provide compliance requirements to our consultants and all firms who provide services to the MPO and all final deliverables, reports, and web pages. So that language was added there. On pages 58 and 59 of the PDF. These are the final 2 pages of the document. On page 31 and 32 of the document, the tables for both 2027 and 2028 are provided with breakdowns of total spending, federal and local match amounts. Both years have been revised to include identifier numbers for all of the activities or projects within each task area, and all the tables have been updated with dollar signs in the funding columns and shaded rows between the tasks to better delineate one task from another. Overall, the table of contents will be updated to reflect proper pages if approved, and the cover will be changed to final rather than draft, with the document footer to reflect the August 2026 date. Are there any questions or concerns regarding the document itself or any of the changes that were made to that? Gabe?
Kim, just maybe a quick clarification. You talked about meeting dates in this, I guess, document. The February 16th meeting,
Yes.
is there a reason that that's not on the regularly scheduled Monday? Maybe just an understanding of why that would be the case for 2027 and for that matter, the June 2028 meeting as well. Can you
Yep.
maybe explain those?
Good questions. Thank you very much, Gabe. So typically in January and February, we have to slide our TAC meetings into our meeting date for our policy board because of Martin Luther King Day in January and because of President's Day in February. So that is the case in 2027. And for the June meeting, it falls on Juneteenth in 2027. So we had to slide that one into the following day as well.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions, concerns? I'd be happy to stand for those. If not, staff is seeking a motion to recommend approval by resolution of adoption, as this document does rise to that level. Would there be such a motion by the TAC?
This is Gabe, so moved.
Thank you, Gabe. We have a motion. Is there a second?
This is Jarek. I'll second.
Thank you, Jarek. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? If not, roll call, please.
Dan Triak,
Yes.
Deidre Hughes,
Yes.
Gabe Shell,
Yes.
Loretta Marshak,
Yes.
Jarek Wigness,
Yes.
John Sackey,
Yes.
Logan Bizey,
Yes.
and Chair Ripple.
Yes. Motion passes. Thank you all. We'll move on to item number 8 on the agenda. It is the 2026 Fringe Area Road Master Plan update. And we do have Joel Mann with Bolton and Mink online with us today. Good morning, Joel.
Right. Good morning. Got a brief update for everybody today. I'll go ahead and share here. So our primary updates from, all right, I think that's the wrong screen here. All right, there we go. So our primary updates from last month are that we had one last meeting with our steering committee to review a draft of the plan document and got some good feedback from that. Had a good discussion at our July steering committee meeting and have documented changes to the plan. Have been working with staff, and we have a draft of the plan as well as a network map ready to post for public review. And that would begin a 30-day public review and comment period that would allow us to capture more input and, of course, allow anyone on this committee and the policy board and any of our other stakeholder groups that we've met with to comment throughout that time too. So a couple things when that is live, that will include not only the report with a separate survey. It's going to be a simple way of capturing text comments rather than having people try to comment directly in the document. We're going to use a separate survey where people can note, any comments or suggestions they have. But we're also going to be sharing the road network itself in a dynamic map. This is something that we've been putting together, kind of joined with a comment tool so that people can comment on that as well. So that's going to give you a little splash screen introduction when you open that map up and take you to the actual map itself that you can scroll and see different different parts of the fringe area road network, symbolized by different kind of statuses or categories based on whether they exist today, whether they are collector or arterial, any changes from the last plan. Everything's going to be there in that version, so that it's pretty clear where changes happened from the 2014 plan to today. In addition to that, when you click on something, you'll be able to get some information on the road link. Some of these are going to have some additional notes giving you some background on, this was removed based on staff recommendation. This is realigned from the previous version of the plan. We are trying to note everywhere that there's a road that exists, but doesn't necessarily have the full right-of-way that would be required of a more modern connection, when development happens. So especially in the outer areas of the urbanized area, a lot of the roads do exist, but they're unimproved, they're unpaved. There's either not right-of-way dedicated or not what would be there. So we're trying to note that to say that even though this is here today, this would potentially be built to a more modern standard with more right-of-way dedicated when development gets to that point. So trying to give everybody an overview, link by link, of how this network functions today and what the plan would call for with it. But I also wanted to share some brief kind of talking points of our last discussion with the steering committee, just to remind everybody here of where we've come back to from the recommendations of the committee. One of the items that we had discussed before was some question as we were going through the planning process of whether or not the kind of mile spacing, section line spacing of what would be arterial roadways that have a much greater ask in terms of right-of-way dedication, if that's still needed. Consensus was that, that's working. Let's leave it that way. It gives us a lot more flexibility, not only in terms of letting us build in the future if we have a need for that, but also managing some of the concerns we have today. Greater right-of-way means we have more space for drainage, other engineering challenges, fitting in utilities. So point well taken there. And so we've come back to keeping that kind of 1 mile spacing. This isn't faithful, of course, when you get into more constrained areas. It's not so neat, but generally in most of the area, that's how things are structured in the plan, with collectors spaced roughly in between, on a half-mile basis in between those section lines. Another feedback item that we wanted to share is that we've been talking about the MPO having a more formal process in reviewing developments as they relate to road dedication or right-of-way or anything with the transportation network. And we try to keep that to where it won't add time or a lot of complexity to the process. So it's really been tied to the major regional corridors network that's been proposed in this version of the plan. But based on some feedback from staff, there's a way to slim that down even more. We got good feedback from the city of Bismarck that MPO staff is pretty engaged in development review already. So that's working. You're getting good dialogue and feedback. And we can, be a bit more quick and nimble about how feedback is shared, so that this doesn't become something where we're waiting an extra, 3 months or so to get that MPO comment if there's a reason for it. We want to emphasize too that that's intended to be used very judiciously. It's not supposed to happen that often. It's called for when conditions would really bring a different purpose and function to some of these roads. And we don't see that happening that often, that this is going to be, a regular thing. But it's there just to give a regional voice in terms of any development decisions that might have some pretty substantial impacts on roads that are supposed to serve, both sides of the river and the entire region. So we have things ready with that draft to start a public review period as soon as today. We're getting that set up. We would notify everybody on this committee, policy board. We've been keeping record of everyone who's participated in the process from a stakeholder or public participant perspective. So letting everybody know about that. There will be links on the MPO website to a special project website that we've been using for things. That would run for 30 days, which is standard comment period for these public plans and documents. And with that, we'd be finishing that up if we started today in the middle of September. During that process, you can all use the commenting tools, but you can also reach out to staff and work directly with us on any other questions you might have while that period is open. But at that point, at the end of September, we would finalize the document and we'd be bringing that to member jurisdictions to start presenting this for their own adoption, which is part of the process heading into October. So with that, I'm happy to take any questions. Our update next month will be pretty brief as well, because that will technically be, in that public comment period toward the end. But happy to take any questions now.
Thank you for the update, Joel. Are there any questions for Joel regarding the Fringe Area Road Master Plan? I guess I have a question. Just what are all of the avenues that the public has to provide comment? How do we gain access to the plan?
So we will have a project website that hosts the document itself, which is a PDF kind of standard report, as well as a link to an online map viewer. That website has been used for publicizing other events in the past or sharing other information or materials. So we're going to continue to use that. We'll work with staff to get that linked from the city's website or the MPO's website, so that you go to that, there's an official link to get you over to those locations where you can view the files in the map. And each of those is going to have comment tools built in. We'll probably use SurveyMonkey or something simple for the report, just so it's an easy way for everybody to, note a comment, say what page they're commenting on. But the map will have a direct function built into that, so that as you're scanning around, you can comment there directly. But those will both be on that website and then linked through the MPO's website.
Great. Thank you very much, Joel. Anything else? All right. Well, thank you, Joel. We'll move on to item number 9, the Transit Development Plan Update with Aaron Bartling of Bolton and Mank.
Thank you and good morning. So I have just a brief verbal update on the transit development plan for you all today. So the 2026 TDP or Transit Development Plan is well underway at this point, and we're excited to be holding the first steering committee meeting this coming Wednesday, the 19th. The steering committee, just as a refresher, includes representatives from the MPO, Bismarck Transit, local jurisdictions, state and federal partners, and then we also have some community organizations and transit riders that will meet a few times throughout the process to help guide the planning process overall. In addition to that, we're currently completing the existing conditions assessment, and early findings from that are showing strong post-pandemic recovery, with 2025 ridership far exceeding 2019 levels, while overall system productivity continues to improve throughout. Early data from the April 2026 service change, which I know Deidre has presented on previously, showing some strong ridership gains compared to that same period last year as well. So some good trends there that we'll be continuing to track and kind of see what we can take from that as we look at future service changes. Our assessment will also include a demographic review and understanding of areas with where higher transit needs may be present throughout the region, and kind of as an assessment of how well transit is currently serving those areas and different population groups. And this is based on factors such as poverty levels, households without vehicles, population density, senior and youth populations, populations with disabilities. So kind of merge all those into a mapping exercise and then overlaying that with existing transit services. So this is just kind of a touch on the existing conditions assessment. We will have a more detailed update with some visuals and graphics to show you at a future TAC meeting as well for the existing conditions assessment. Also, over the coming months, we will continue focusing on identifying issues and opportunities, conducting some stakeholder and public engagement, starting with the steering committee this week, followed by some public engagement here this fall. And then we'll also be having a hands-on planning workshop with the steering committee and a few others brought into the group to help start exploring different scenarios and shape future recommendations as we look at the future network component to this process. And then we'll anticipate bringing service concepts and engagement results back to this group for discussion early next year, in addition to the general monthly project updates that we'll be presenting on as we continue making progress throughout each task. And with that, I'll be happy to take any questions on the TDP.
Thank you, Aaron, for the update and those next steps. Any questions for Aaron today? I'm not hearing anything. Thank you, Aaron.
Thank you.
All right, we will move on to item number 10, the Traffic Data Collection and Analysis RFP update. There was a staff memo that was provided as part of the packet, Exhibit R-G, and that is in your packet on page 67. The Traffic Data Collection and Analysis project is going to be conducted over the course of the next 3 months with a not-to-exceed budget of $37,000. The project is geared to capture traffic data collection, including traffic volumes at select intersections and segments within Bismarck-Burley County, and in some cases, turn movements and pedestrian counts as well. Additionally, the newly collected and processed traffic data, along with data previously collected through other means and agencies in 2024, 25, and 26, will be compiled for ease of access and use by the MPO and by its partner jurisdictions. The RFP was released in July, and it included a proposal submitted deadline of August 14th, which was last Friday. We did receive 6 responsive proposals to this particular project, and that exceeded our expectations. I have to be frank about that. And so it will be up to the selection team to determine whether they want to interview all 6 proposing candidates, or if they would prefer to perform a cut-down exercise. The MPO typically does limit their interviews to between 3 and 5, but it is at the selection team's discretion. So we'll be discussing that today and moving forward with interviews that would be scheduled between August 31st and September 3rd. So at this time next month, we'll have a little bit more information as far as a recommendation for consultant selection and next steps for this study. Any questions at all? Gabe?
Kim, maybe just a question on like professional services or procuring something. This is a study that really we just needed data. It's like a data collection that takes the vein of professional services, also like a consultant doing some of the studies we heard earlier today. Is there, maybe not for this one, obviously, because it's out the door and we're moving forward with it, but is there ways to package up this in a different manner that just provide us 24-hour accounts at these locations and get a quote to do that, and then you just pick that and we're done, as opposed to going through a lot more steps on qualifications? I'm just trying to struggle on looking at 6 of them, how we will differentiate the professional capabilities of all 6 that will say, I can get you that traffic count on Tuesday, and they'll all 6 say that. What will be used to differentiate? So,
no, very good questions, Gabe. Thank you for presenting those. Something that I've kind of struggled with myself, to be quite honest. However, the MPO is held to a qualifications-based selection process for any project that entails professional services. So if this were strictly procuring data, we could go ahead and we could use, the 3 bid and get the 3 quotes and make our judgment call based on that, and go ahead and procure it. But because this does engage a firm in providing professional services in the actual collection of that data, we are held to the North Dakota DOT standards of selecting through a qualifications-based selection process, and that means issuing the RFP, going through the interviews, the whole 9 yards. So, yeah, unfortunately, I would love to just do 3 quotes and call her good too, but.
okay, so thank you.
All right, thanks. Any other questions? All right, thank you very much. We'll move on to the next item on the agenda, which is roadway projects. Why don't we start with our folks online? I think we have Loretta still on with City of Lincoln. Do you have anything going on to update us on, Loretta?
I do not. We are still working towards our 2027 projects and getting our future capital improvement projects in line.
Okay, well, thanks. We'll look forward to those projects when they come to fruition. How about John Psyche with Morton County? Are you still with us?
Yep. Aztec is working on the microsurfacing on the interstate. When they get done with that, then they're going to move to our County Road 139A. So last I'd heard, it might be the later part of this week or first part of next week. And we'll be working on the frontage road out to Mounties Rancheros out on the west end. So
Okay,
That'll be
very
it.
good. Thanks, John. Dan, what's going on in Burleigh County?
Currently, Burleigh County has one of our Flex Fund projects is about 75% complete, and that's our Centennial and 71st microsurface project, and we also had some cement treated base on a portion of 71st Avenue. Our second Flex Fund project is a bridge replacement west of Lincoln along Lincoln Road. That's currently being in the design phase. We anticipate bidding that out sometime in February or March of next year. And then our last project in the MPO that has federal money attached to it is the bridge replacement east of 80th Street, which is scheduled to start in the next couple weeks on Apple Creek Road.
Okay, thank you, Dan. Jarek, City of Mandan?
Our federal funded project is our First Street downtown reconstruction project. Segments 1 and 2 are open; they're finished. That's First Street from 6th Avenue Northwest to 5th Avenue Northwest, and then 5th Avenue Northwest from First Street to 2nd Street. Our contractor has opened up segment 3, and we'll be opening up segment 5 in short order, which would be the segment between Main Avenue and Main Street and First Street. So people can continue to expect traffic shifts.
All right, that's good to be aware of. Thank you, Jarek. Gabe, City of Bismarck?
Certainly, for federal fund-related projects, we have two. The first being our rectangular rapid flash beacon project at Centennial Road, north or at Jericho. The project, I would say, is substantially complete at this point in time. Everything's up and running, energized. So that's kind of maybe our last update that we'll have on that project. Our other federal aid-related project is the 19th Street and Century Avenue safety improvements, where we'll be redoing some of the negative offsets at the left turn lanes and replacing some of the signal infrastructure as well. That project's under construction, working on it right now, but that'll be a couple months still, I'm guessing, until that's in a satisfactory or a substantial completion condition.
All right, well, thank you. Logan, what does district have for us?
Quite a bit. We got exit 161 is done, so that's good. Memorial Highway Phase 1 is complete as well. And then Phase 2, they're working pretty hard right now. They're planned for a traffic switch on Wednesday from Faulkner's to Main Avenue. So there'll be a pretty big traffic switch there, so people should be aware of. They're also working down on 3rd Street at the kind of the outfall location, doing some work there, so there's some traffic control over on 3rd Street by the trolley. The interstate, they're paving away. They're putting up median cable guardrail and concrete paving on the interstate out east of town. Tyler Parkway Bridge over the interstate is about half done. They're replacing some approach slabs on there, and they got about half of them done, so that's halfway through. And then the nighttime microsurfacing project, that's kind of all through town, is mostly done. I think there's like one lane left on the interstate, and then there'll be about 2 weeks of striping, and that project will be done as well. So that's where we're at.
Nice. We've made good work of the short season that we've had here this year. All right. Is there any other business that anybody would like to share? Hey.
Okay, maybe just a question. The railroad siding project, will that have updates moving forward and be listed as a project update on subsequent agendas?
Thanks, Gabe. Yes, it will. In fact, we were going to provide an update today, but I guess I can do that since the question has kind of been brought up. The contract negotiations for the passenger rail station siting study are complete. The contract has been executed. Right now it is at North Dakota DOT. They are taking a look at our qualification-based selection process. The packet that has been submitted gets reviewed by DOT personnel, and once we get their approval that we have indeed followed all their protocols in regards to QBS, then we'll get their official go-ahead to issue the notice to proceed. So next month, actually, we are considering having a kickoff meeting. It's tentatively scheduled for September 1, so by this time next month, we should have a nice little update to provide to the board. Thanks. Any other questions at all? Any other business? If not, we will adjourn the meeting. Thank you very much.